What is a VLAN? VLAN stands for Virtual Local Area Network. So a virtual local area network is like a LAN, but virtual. So what is a LAN? LAN is a local area network. But what does that mean? So imagine you're 15 years old again, and this square is your parents' basement. You live down here. Here's your computer desk. So here you put on your computer, and then you have a whole bunch of friends come over one night. You got Jimmy, Todd, Phil. These are all your friends right here, and you all want to play the game StarCraft. So now, since you guys are all in the same basement, you don't need to go online. You can just connect all of your computers together. You can do this with a switch, or you can even do it with what's called a hub. So you can all connect your computers to this hub, and now one of you just has to launch StarCraft, create a LAN session, and you can all join it. This is what a LAN is. It's a local network. There's no internet involved, it's just the computers that are all linked together under one building. Now that we have that defined, what makes a LAN virtual? See, here's a switch. Let's connect some computers to it. So this right here, right now, is just a LAN. It's not a VLAN, it's just a LAN. And when you take a switch out of the box, brand new, when you open it up, it already comes with one VLAN on it. This is called the native VLAN. If we type in show VLAN, so all of these are the default VLANs that come on a switch when you take it out of the box without any configuration. You have VLAN 1, and you have a few of these other ones down here that we will get into on a different video, and they're not that important right now. So let's start off. VLAN 1. These are all of the ports on the 2960 switch. There's 24 ports that are fast Ethernet, and there's 2 ports that are gigabit. So 26 ports altogether. Right now, all 26 ports are under one VLAN. So, if it's just one VLAN, and they're all physically connected, then there's nothing virtual about this yet. It's just one LAN. Now, let's change some things up. Let's draw a little box here. These two users are the managers of this organization. This computer right here, he is an accountant. This computer here is an engineer. These other 2 computers are sales. So now, we need to figure out a way that these 2 managers could be on the same LAN, that these 2 sales guys can be on the same LAN, the engineer would have his own LAN, and the accountant would have his own LAN. And the way that we would set this up is just entering a series of commands into the switch. The basic configuration is a bit simple, but it will take you some time to memorize this and really get the hang of it. So I advise you to get your own version of Cisco Packet Tracer to do this lab with me. So the first thing we're going to do on a switch, configure some basic configuration. We're going to do a host name, landlord. That's going to be the name of our switch. We'll enable a password. It's basketball. Service password encryption. And now, we're going to go back into the standard user mode here. Enabled user mode, that is. Show VLAN. As we see, there's only one VLAN. It's our default VLAN. So, let's go back into configure terminal. What we're going to do is type in VLAN 2. And VLAN 2, if you type in a question mark, here we can change the name of it and a couple other commands. So we'll type in name, managers, exit, VLAN 3, name, accountant, exit, VLAN 4, name, engineer, exit, VLAN 5, name, sales, exit, exit. Now if you do show VLAN again, now we have 5 VLANs. We have the default, and we have managers, accountant, engineer, and sales. If all of the ports are on the switch under VLAN 1, then all of these are still under VLAN 1. So how can we put managers into VLAN 2? The first thing we're going to do, unplug all of these. Because I used an automatic connection type to connect all of these computers to the switch. So I don't actually know what port they connected it to. So we're going to use a copper straight through cable, and VLAN 2 is going to be using ports 2 and 3. VLAN 3 is going to be using port 5. VLAN 4 is going to be using port 8. VLAN 5 is going to be using port 10 and 11. Just so we remember this, we'll do so now that those are all labeled, whoa! Look at all of this stuff that just came up. Do you see all of these messages? This is telling us that all of these interfaces were changed to down. That means we unplugged all of them. So the switch gives us these messages every time we unplug something or plug it back in. So let's proceed. Let's go into Configure Terminal. In order to configure an interface, we would type in interface FA02 because that is the name of the interface that we want. Press enter. But in this case, we want to configure 2 interfaces at the same time. So we don't need to do them separately, we can do them together. Interface range FA02-3. Oop, I typed in a 4 by accident somehow. So now we have a range of interfaces selected from 2 to 3. We can type in a command that says switch port access VLAN 2. And we'll type in no shutdown. And now we have to go into VLAN 2 and type in no shut. So if you just type in VLAN 2, that's the configuration part where you edit the name. But I want to go into the interface of the VLAN 2. And from here, we can do no shutdown. Even though the first time you go into the new VLAN, it will just change it to up automatically. Type in exit, exit. Now if we go show VLAN, now we see that under the managers, these 2 ports now belong to this VLAN. So now all of these VLANs are still on VLAN 1. This is a local area network for them. And now this one is our VLAN 2. So now we've separated these guys from the rest of the config T. Int VLAN 3. It's up. Go exit. Interface FA05. Switch port. Access VLAN 5. No shut. VLAN 4. Oops. Int VLAN 4. See, I just messed that up. I put in VLAN 8 when it's actually supposed to be in VLAN 4. So let me change this. The interface is 8, but the VLAN is 4. And look at what happened before. There was no VLAN 8, but the switch went ahead and created it automatically. Now if we type in show VLAN, see, I messed up here too. I put in interface 5 and then I put in VLAN 5. So I keep mixing up these numbers. Pretty easy to do. So let me go ahead and change that. If you mess this up, all you got to do is go back into that interface, conf t, interface F05 for the accountant, and go switch port, access, VLAN 3. Exit, show VLAN. See now, all of our managers are under the VLAN 2, our accountant is in VLAN 3, engineer VLAN 4, and our sales are on VLAN 5. We've created VLAN 8 by accident, so I'm going to show you how to delete that. All you gotta do is type in no VLAN 8. Bam, that's all you gotta do. Now we have all of our different departments on different VLANs. So now we can go ahead and assign each VLAN its own IP address. The first one will do 10.0.0.1.0/24. If you don't know much about IP addresses, I will be making a video of that. So 10.0.0.2. I actually like to start these off at 50. 255, 255, 255, 0. We don't have this IP address yet, but I'm going to set a gateway later on. Alright, so now we have all of these computers set up with IP addresses. Now this one is 51. Let's see if I can talk to my other manager. Let's ping 10.0.0.52. And as you see, it says I've got a reply. That means it went through successfully. Let's try pinging our accountant in the other VLAN. 0.1.51. I believe that's what I set the IP address to. That is? Yes. So now, is it going to work? It's not going to work. Why is it not working? They're all connected to the same device. So why is it not working? See, now we told the switch that all of these different computers are on different VLANs. This switch thinks that these are different physical locations. However, they are all plugged into the same device. But virtually, it doesn't think that. So, we need to figure out how all of these computers can talk to each other. And our first step to this is going under the VLAN interface. So go to configure T, interface VLAN 1. Oh, just kidding, we're not using VLAN 1. Interface VLAN 2 for the manager department. And we're just going to type in IP address. Type in 10.0.0.0, 255, 255, 255.0. It says bad mask. What does that mean? That means I put in the network ID, but I need to give it a real address. So let's type in 254. So now that we have that as the IP address, we can go on to the next interface. If we type in the command show VLAN, you'll notice nothing has changed in it. And that's because the show VLAN command doesn't show IP addresses. It just shows the ports, it shows the name, the VLAN number, the status of the VLAN. So in order to see the IP addresses, we go into show run for running configuration. And here, if we go down, we could already see that this interface right here is in VLAN 2. These interfaces is VLAN 3, VLAN 4, and the 10 and 11 interfaces are 10 and 11, or VLAN 5, sorry. If you go down here, it's going to show all of our VLANs. We see that we shut down the VLAN 1, and it has no IP addresses. But the VLAN 2 to 5 are all on, and they all have an IP address. So now we can hit Control-C to exit out of this show command. We could go ahead here and ping that same machine again. Will it work? It's not going to work. I'll tell you that right now. It didn't work. So why is it not working still? We all have the default gateway set to the switch interfaces. And we all have IP addresses. And the switch VLANs also all have IP addresses. So why is it not working? Let me tell you something. Let's go over here. Here is a switch. What does a switch do? A switch relays messages from a sender to the receiver. That's essentially, I could talk about a switch for a lot longer than that, but just for this video, that's all we're going to say. That's what a switch does. A switch does not read IP addresses. It only reads MAC addresses. When VLANs are separated into different local area networks, the switch thinks they're in different locations. And a switch can't forward a MAC address into a different MAC address on a different local area network. It doesn't know how to do that. Only IP addresses know how to do that. And if a switch does not read IP addresses, then it can't do that. There is a solution to this. The solution is a router. A router does not read MAC addresses. It reads IP addresses. A router can relay a sender to a receiver using the IP address. So in order for all of these computers to talk to one another in the different departments, we need to have a router. On the other hand, before we get into this, there's another device that can do this. It's called a layer 3 switch. A layer 3 switch has a command on it that you can enable the switch to read the IP addresses and forward them between the VLANs. This is called inter-VLAN routing, and we will get into that in a different video. For now, let's connect this router. For a switch to a router connection, we're going to be using the Gigabit Ethernet. Just like this. Now a router is different than a switch. You'll notice that when I connected any PC to the switch, that little triangle right here is green, and this eventually went green as well after about 30 seconds. This means that a switch works out of the box with no configuration. When you take the switch out of a brand new box and plug it into the wall, it works. You don't have to touch it at all. It already kind of knows what it's doing. A router, on the other hand, is the opposite. The router doesn't know what it's doing out of the box. So let's go into the command line interface and talk about something called routing on a stick. And this will enable us to talk between the computers and different VLANs. Let's configure this routing on a stick. Would you like to enter initial configuration dialog? It's basically asking if you would like help configuring the switch. I'm going to hit no, because we're going to do this manually. A router starts you off in a user mode, just like a switch. We type in enable to get into privilege mode, just like a switch. Now we're going to type in config T, and we're going to go into the interface. So the interface is going to be G0/1. This is the interface we're using. However, we're going to be working with the VLANs. We don't care about the interface. So we could do something called a virtual interface on this router. So that means we type in the interface name .2. So this is called a sub-interface, a virtual interface. And we're going to assign the 1.2 to VLAN 2. The first command we're going to type in is encapsulation.1q VLAN 2. Oops. Oh, so I put in the VLAN ID. So instead of typing in VLAN 2, I just type in 2 for the VLAN number. Okay. And I enable IP routing. Okay, so if you enable IP routing, then it's going to close you out of the interface. So first thing we're going to do is type in the IP address of this interface. And we're going to do 10.0.0.1. And here we'll put in the subnet mask. No shut. We're going to go into here, and we're not going to use the switch's VLAN address as the gateway. We're going to put in the router's IP address as the gateway on both of these computers. So now instead of relaying the messages off the switch, it will go ahead and find the router. We're going to go to interface go1.3 encapsulation.1q VLAN 3. Oh, I did it again. You just gotta type in 3. IP address 10.0.1.1 255.255.255.0. No shut. IP routing. Our connection here, our line, is still off. That's because we still have to go into the physical interface and type in no shut. And in here, we'll change this to 1. Let's see if this works. Let's wait for this button to come on right here. So let's go right in here and let's ping that machine. Is it going to work? I could tell you right now, it's not going to work because we're not done here. Nope, doesn't work. So let's go back into the switch. So we know that the interface gigabyte 01 is connected to the switch. We type in no shut. And more importantly, there's something called a trunk. And a trunk means a line that's sending VLAN information. Remember that encapsulation.1q that we put on the router's configuration? That was kind of a weird word, right? So that means that the router is encapsulated its data to be sent across this connection as a trunk connection, and that sends VLAN data. We need the switch to be doing the same thing. So we'll type in switch, trunk, switch port trunk, encapsulation. We'll type in switch mode trunk. Now let's go ahead and ping that address again. And bam, it works, you see? So now the switch is talking to the router properly. The switch is sending the trunk data information. It's encapsulating that VLAN data. And the router is doing the same thing, so they're properly allowed to exchange that data. Let's see if I can ping the engineering department. Ping 10.0.2.51. Destination host unreachable. See, now we're getting a different kind of message. Before we were just getting a timeout, request timeout. And that basically means nothing's really happening. It can't find that address whatsoever. But this is a different reply. This means that this reply is coming back from the router. So the ping got to the router, and the router looked at this address and says, I have no idea where this is. So I'm going to send you back a message that says destination host unreachable. And that means we haven't configured those interfaces on the router. So let's go ahead and do that. .4 for VLAN 4, IP encapsulation.1q. We're going to type in 4, number 4 for the VLAN 4, IP address 10.0.2.1 255.255.255.0. No shut. IP routing. And we're going to do the last one, config T, interface gigabyte1.5 for VLAN 5, encapsulation.1q5, IP address 10.0.3, I believe that was. .1, 255.255.255.0, no shut, IP routing. And we're going to save this configuration, so we're going to do copy running config to start config. Yes. Oops. Yes. Okay, I just hit enter then, no problem. So now, if I go ahead and try pinging that address again, and it's not working. Why is it not working? So I'm trying to ping this machine down here, and if I go to IP configuration, this default is still set to the switches. So I need to change that gateway to 1. These ones too. These ones as well. Let's try that one more time. Bam! That one works. I could ping him just fine. Can I ping the sales department? Bam, see? And the first ping will most likely time out. And that's because the switch is still registering who is who. But the rest will go through. See, now if I do that again, it works awesome. So this is what a VLAN is. And this is how you route in between VLANs. This is how you configure different VLANs, how they can all talk to each other, how they can see each other, and how they can coexist together on a switch and a router. I hope you found some valuable information in this lesson today. I'll see you on the next video.